once again, I can say, now I said this a few months ago, the market is drastically different than it was just 2 months ago. And now it's different still again. So here's the AVID presentation from November. We don't meet in December. And this is November's slide. In November, I said we had a slight decrease in median prices, that it might decrease again, and that we had an increase in inventory, and that prices were not jumping. Homes had stopped flying off the shelf, and there was overall less competition. And then we're always a month delayed in data. So that would have been October's days on market was up just a little bit, and 8 year over year. So I told AVID investors, the market has cooled, or is cooler. Now I can tell you everything just kind of reverses that. Our January summary, which is using December data, we are almost back up to our median price of homes that we were at June, where everything had sort of spiked. Prices are jumping, homes are flying fast. We're getting more competition, and once again, we're having those multiple offer situations where we're trying to help an investor pick up a resale home, not a brand new home, and we're having to compete, release contingencies, and beat out multiple offers, and we're not necessarily winning, even though we know how to offer strong. And if an investor says, we're in it to win it, get us this house, here's our maximum price, we can make a very strong offer, and other people out there are willing to go higher. So for those who had listed and said, this was a great time, and pulled it off the market, we'll be putting those back on soon. Excuse me 1 second, I have to cough. Okay, did I unmute? Yes, okay, so what's going on in the market? And we're not gonna do a rental market update this time, so that I can really give you kind of a macro and then zoom back into the micro picture of our market, since it has been so crazy. Let's see what's going on elsewhere, shall we? So nationwide, thanks to Paige Brown at Swope for sharing Brian Buffini's data, nationwide, the median price of homes is $305,000. Now that's nationwide average. They've got some starts and some construction, but I'm focusing on the median price, and then we're going to bring it into the regional West trends. Median price, thanks again, Paige, $450,000 in the overall West for the median price of homes. Okay, now let's go to Ada and Canyon County. Ada, we're almost back to $550,000 for a median price of homes. That was a spike in June, or a peak in June, and then it sort of did some weird things, and then it quieted down over Christmas, and now it seems like it's getting crazy again. So we'll be back at $550,000 for the median price of homes, which is a 27% year over year increase. Now, when you're reading things about the Boise market, how it's crazy, there's various ways to measure crazy. And in this market, investors who've held onto their purchases have seen their equity climb significantly. The amount of homes have still managed to climb, and this time we've seen that inventory has climbed year over year. Our days on market went up, if you can believe that 32 days on market is an increase. And Canyon County has very similar trends, only the median price there is lower. Now, keep in mind also, this is both new and resale homes, that price. New homes will be higher than that. Older homes will be on the lower end of that. And Canyon County's up 23.4%. The amount of homes sold has gone up, and inventory has gone up significantly, as has days on market. But again, 41 days on market is historically not a crazy amount of time when you consider, I don't know, that includes new homes as well. So, and here's the two side by side. Okay, so with these prices being, what did we just see? $100,000 in Boise and Ada County higher than the overall Western region median price of homes, and significantly higher than the national average. It's probably legitimate that Boise and Idaho are both really starting to have some strong conversations on affordability. Both Governor Little and Mayor McBain from Boise have made housing affordability a top priority. And focusing on some things that Boise's been doing, they've been aggressively pursuing land to build affordable workforce housing. And that's through the Housing and Land Trust. And workforce housing and their area of strongest focus right now is the type of folks who should be able to work and live live near where they work. So teachers or government workers, they want those folks on their salaries to be able to afford to live not far from where they work. Now, of course, the city moves slowly, but they are acquiring land. And some of the examples would be they purchased land at Orchard and Franklin maybe 3 years ago, and that's a 5-year project. And what they've been doing is kind of interesting. So I'll share that they'll buy it and then they lease it to a developer. So I think it was the Boise, the Franklin and Orchard one where they actually made the purchase and leased the land to a Utah developer who's going to develop it. It might be a different one who is from Utah. Another project they're doing is right over by State Street on Arthur. And there's going to go, 80 units are going to go there. With the land that they purchased. And there's going to be a focus again on creating workforce housing. Various master plans affect the zoning, and the master plans for various areas are updated every 6 months. And sometimes zoning changes are going to be required to create the density that they're looking for to really make a dent in the housing affordability problem. Now, also really relevant and something we talk about a lot in AVID is STRs or short-term rentals compared to long-term rentals. And STRs would be your Airbnb, your VRBOs, that sort of thing. Lately, there's been some discussion about proposed licensing. And I've had investor, someone from this club, multiple folks have said, hey, we want to pick up some properties, make them short-term rentals. And then they have, they'll hear that this is a conversation in Boise and they'll say, never mind, we're going to go elsewhere to do our short-term rental purchases. And so what happened is some legislation or licensing, I don't know if it's legislation, it was whatever, it went to the board, it went to the board and there was a vote and they sent it back to the drawing board. The Boise regional realtors weighed in on that and testified that many of the provisions weren't related to addressing health and safety issues, which health and safety is a big deal. And also it's the only portion of the Idaho state statute that allows cities to provide some regulation. So the Valley County McCall area has gone the rounds with Airbnbs where they did some form of disallowing them. And then we're told that they were not allowed to disallow them, and based on the Idaho state statute. So Idaho focuses on property rights, and it's TBD where all of this conversation is going. Other sticking points in that legislation, or not legislation, I don't know what it is, but in that thing that I'm calling it, is they had required a local agent to manage complaints. And Jimmy Halliburton had expressed some concerns with that verbiage. So a lot of it was language and verbiage based. There were folks up in arms really about allowing it to be a misdemeanor for violations. When looking at the rule and looking at, does it have any teeth, a misdemeanor was proposed, and that just wasn't settling well with people who are afraid, a nosy neighbor who, can just say anything, kind of butt in and cause a misdemeanor to go on someone's record. And they had talked about wanting an amenities list or a detailed drawing for the unit. And anyone who wants to find page 489 on the city council agenda packet can read the original proposal. But the bottom line here is they sent it back to the drawing board, and it's an open conversation. Anyone have any thoughts they want to hop in with on this? Because I know it is a fairly hot topic. Dave, do you have any short-term rentals? No? Shane, you've got a short-term rental. Bobby.
Yeah. Yes, Bobby had a comment. She had a chat comment. I think maybe she wants to comment.
Okay, can you read it, Shane?
There we go. Can you hear me, Stacy?
I hear you, Bobby. Sorry, I didn't
Okay.
notice your chat. Please comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that when I was at that hearing, and when I was there was a group of folks who said if you're interested in sort of joining forces together, if you're opposed to this regulation, and I put it in the chat that his name is Tim Power, and what he has is basically a a contact list, and he's trying to just help everyone connect who might be interested in doing that. So I put his contact information in the chat.
Well, I'm so grateful. Thank you for doing that, Bobby. And what was Tim Powers? What's his stance or positioning? Is he against the having to do licenses or for it, or?
Yeah, so he stood up during a break and he just said, hey, because the room was full. I mean, it was like a, I don't know, 3 or 4 hour meeting, lots and lots of testimony. And he just said, anyone who is opposed to regulation for Airbnbs, come and sign up on this email address list, and we'll see if we can somehow connect and join forces to just be a little more powerful voice. And so he's most definitely leading the charge against regulation.
Well, thank you for that, Bobby. I'm super appreciative of that. I know that there's a rental organization that is organized and is really pushing hard in saying that these Airbnbs are indeed taking units off the rental market. And of course, the laws of supply and demand matter in terms of pushing what they'll do to rental prices. And so it probably does make sense to have, try to have a more cohesive voice on the other side of things as well. And also I see, Bobby, that you corrected the Arthur commentary I made, which is that it's actually 103 units that's slotted for there, 5 floors and affordable housing, but not necessarily live close to work. Did you want to say anything else on that, Bobby?
No, just that I attended the neighborhood meeting just last week and heard from the project managers for that, and to just they're doing a lot of things right and really well, but the 5 stories was a little bit shocking in that there is no other building on the State Street corridor until you get downtown that's 5 floors, and
yeah,
so it's a lot of people in a short amount of space.
Mm-hmm.
Small amount of space.
Mm-hmm. And I know State Street's also on a bus route, and that was something that I had heard the city say was important to them when it came to housing, that public transportation matters. So of course, State Street has that. But yes, so much going on in that neck of the woods lately. That whole corridor, State Street has some development slotted for it. And then of course, I know, Bobby, you've been active in paying attention to what was going on with the shelter proposal there and this, so just so much action over there.
Stacy, have you noticed any changes in housing prices in that area, particular to in relation with the potential shelter?
No, not at this time. I haven't really gone delving in specifically to look, although I can offer a qualitative experience, and this is just one experience. There were some folks who were looking all in the kind of downtown perimeter, want to live within, he works at North Junior High, so he wants to be able to bike to work, and he's not afraid to bike farther than the average human. And she works at BSU, and so they want to be in that within the downtown radius, young couple. And they were had looked at something that was south of State Street and had looked at the proposed shelter area and said, if that goes in, we're going to be literally right between that shelter and the river. And we think that's going to have a lot of foot traffic from the shelter getting to the Greenbelt. And we're not sure. We want to see what happens before we would commit to buying a house in that area. So I did have one person kind of look away because of that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. They ended up buying in Warm Springs Mesa. Okay. this was a slide from November's presentation. And okay, well, first kind of just segueing. Thanks guys for commentary. Thanks Bobby for commenting. And we always want engagement. So, and if I don't notice it, wave or feel free to help get my attention. I can see the folks who have the videos on easier. And thank you for engaging. We love that. I love that. And so we're talking about affordability, a lot of conversations. And then of course, it's going to trickle down to the apartment rent affordability as well. And so this was a slide that showed where Boise, that had shown last month, where Boise sat on the overall affordability scale. And so I thought it was relevant as we transitioned from the single family home market update, affordability, and then getting into the multifamily market side of things. Historically, vacancies took a small climb up, and this is not the latest and greatest data. This is from Q3 2021. Once we get the latest data by next month, I'll be able to focus a little more heavily on the rental market. But the rental market's very seasonal. So seasonally speaking, this should be a slow time, and your lease ups should get better rent in spring, which would be like anytime between March and September. That's when I like to have my leases end. And also, as we've talked about before, that's a good reason to have your leases not automatically go month to month. So December data gave us a surprising increase in inventory. And that was kind of part of that time frame where things just weren't as frenetic. But overall deals were up more than 50% from last year. Typo. Pending deals were up a bit. Sales decreased, but not really. They were almost the same. And absorption bumped to a little bit more than 1 month in all categories. Now, except for one, but greater than 1 month. I mean, 3 to 6 months is a balanced market. So to talk about absorption going up to above 1 month, that's still, not a ton of inventory and not a ton of time for the market to absorb that inventory. Now, fourplexes, Boise has so many more fourplexes than other markets, and fewer, was there a question? No, okay, and fewer bigger apartments, 5+ units, commercial deals. So fourplexes are a great trendsetter to watch, especially since it's a great area to get investing into, to include in your portfolio. And so sorry, you guys, my brain is just a little off from the cold. But anyway, Tony Drost, Boise Investment Properties, Swope Investment Properties, he's saying that rents are continuing to improve, which is supporting these higher prices that we've seen and pushing cap rates back up a little bit. And so they went above the 4% mark. And that's what we saw most recently. But here's what the prices are. The average price of a fourplex was, now granted, these were new ones that sold. So we had a month with only 4 fourplex sales, and all of them were newer. 3 of them were brand new, and one was like, I'm just gonna say new enough. And the average price was over $1 million for that month. So that was a huge climb in the average price for the fourplexes. Days on market, you can see, is still historically low at 7.4. And the gross rent multiplier, now that's the price divided by the rent. That's a real easy way to take a first glance look at performance. And you can see that that number is around, was that 200? Yeah, right around 200. The lower the number, the better on that one. And here's what the inventory actually looks like. So fourplexes, the top box is Ada and the bottom box is Canyon. And I'm surprised that Plummer Road fourplex has lasted so long, but I guess they just tried to push the price on it a little. And also they're only 1 bedroom unit, 1 bathroom units. So those are the 2 available in Boise right now, or in Ada, sorry. And then in Canyon, there's a whole bunch not shown, all on Brassy Cove. And so it's a bunch of fourplexes in the same community, and they all hit the market about the same time. So that whole community is sort of, they're reselling all of them. But that's what we have currently active on the market. I'm also really surprised that Lexi Way fourplex didn't sell already. those are nice units. It's a nice area. Here's what we've got. Now here, what do we have for the 5+? This is interesting. You're seeing that well, I'll just say value goes down a little with duplexes because you're going to compete with owner occupied buyers. They don't need to just shop by investments and numbers. You might get an owner occupier who's it's a great deal. It's great to make your first home a duplex. And if you've got someone else helping you pay for your rent, you don't need to really measure the cap rate as much. 5+, due to that smaller inventory, those can have a lower cap rate as well. So 4plexes also tend to be a decent deal. But this one comes out to $276,700 per door. They're 1-bedroom, 1-bath units, and each unit is going to cost about $276,000 over at Overland and Orchard. And they're selling 15 total units for $4 million-ish. And here's everything that's on the market in 5+ units. I just showed you Orchard, but here's another one that's brand new. Now the one that I have the picture of on Maple Grove, they're mostly 3-bedroom units. Each 4plex has one 2-bedroom unit in it, and there's 4 total 4plexes, and your price per unit on that is at about $390 per unit. So yeah, prices are a little bit higher on those. Your cap rate's going to be a little lower. Of course, they're brand new. Once we see prices and cap rates pushing down too far, if it's just as good of a deal to buy a single family home, well, those are a little bit easier. Tenants tend to do more. And so in this past year, we've sold some brand new inventory for townhomes and homes just because we can get the cap rate on those to compete with well, like with this here. So these 16 units, I know of brand new townhomes that are 3-bedroom townhomes and in a brand new townhome community. And they're about that same price, barely a few bucks higher, depending on which one you pick. So I think that is the market update.